Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Brittney Patton, and I'm here today from the Social Impact Advisors. We're here in support of United Way's Day of Caring to share some information with you about how to run and host Zoom meetings. Now, we wouldn't claim to be experts in the Zoom meeting space, but we hope that by sharing our knowledge and experience working with charities, you'll be able to better run and host meetings of your own. Now, on screen, you'll see an agenda of the different topics we're going to be covering in today's tutorial. I'm going to start by reviewing how to sign in and schedule a meeting in the Zoom webpage and Windows app. Then we'll discuss some additional functions hosts and participants might use while in the Zoom meeting. Okay, let's get started. Now on screen, I'm going to be pulling up the Zoom webpage through my Google Chrome app. Now you can access the Zoom website through your preferred web browser. I just happen to prefer Google Chrome. And you're going to start by clicking the sign in button in the top right-hand corner. That's going to bring you to a sign in screen where you can enter your email address and the corresponding password. If you're an organization like our own, you might have several Zoom accounts, so just make sure you're entering the correct email address and password for that specific meeting. Once you've done that, you're going to click sign in, and that will bring you to the Zoom General Meetings page. And this displays all of the meetings you have currently set up with that account. It also denotes what meetings do not have a password associated with them. And I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the meeting information page. So to schedule a meeting, you can start by clicking the big blue button in the center of your screen, or clicking schedule a meeting in the top right-hand corner. Once you've done that, you'll be brought to a meeting information page. Here you can identify the topic of your meeting and the date and time you'd like your meeting to occur. I'm going to set up a meeting for tomorrow at 10 a.m. You also have the option here to adjust the duration of your meeting. The standard Zoom duration time is 1 hour, so if you expect your meeting to go longer than that, just make sure to adjust it here. You also have the option to set a time zone for your meeting, which can be particularly helpful if you're working with participants in other provinces or regions. If you expect that this will be a reoccurring meeting happening at the same day or time, you can check this box, and it allows you to set your reoccurrence up accordingly. I'm going to set this meeting to occur every 2 weeks. Once you've done that, you'll be asked to see if participants are required to be registered Zoom accounts if participating in this program. We typically do not check that box, and it allows just for a broader audience to sign into the Zoom call and removes a barrier to accessing Zoom if younger participants do not happen to have a Zoom account of their own. Next, you have an option to set a meeting password. We do often set a meeting password for our Zoom meetings because it adds an extra level of security. If you have a meeting password set, participants will be asked to enter their password when joining through the phone or web browser. If participants are just clicking on the Zoom link, they won't have to enter a password because it's already built into the link that you've shared. This next section around video talks to how participants and hosts will actually log onto the Zoom call and if their video will be turned on or not. We prefer to have both the host and participant video turned off when signing in. That allows everyone a chance to get set up and feel ready to turn their video on and share their space with the rest of the call. This next section around audio is where you would identify if this is just a telephone meeting or a computer audio meeting. We typically select both because it allows participants to join the Zoom meeting with whatever technology they have available. Here's where you'd also identify what phone numbers you would like to be created for the meeting. You have a large range of countries or regions that you can select to have phone numbers generated for, or you can also remove certain phone numbers. So we've been asked to show how to just have Canadian numbers generated for this meeting. So I'm going to click the X here and remove the US and click Save. And that will ensure that I'm just generating Canadian phone numbers for this meeting, which can help limit some of the confusion around what number to call and how to best access the meeting. At the bottom of the page, you have a few additional meeting options. The first, enable join before the host, would allow participants to join the meeting prior to the host starting the meeting. This can be helpful if you're moving from session to session and don't expect you'll be able to start the meeting right on time. Participants can log in and get set up while waiting for you. You also have the option to mute participants upon entry. That's something we typically do select because, again, it adds an extra layer of privacy and allows participants just to unmute themselves when they feel ready to start talking. Another option you can do is enable a waiting room. If you were to do this option, it would create a separate Zoom call where participants would wait for the host to start the meeting, and then the host could then bring participants in from the waiting room. Another option is that you could just not have a waiting room or not enable join before the host. And what would happen then is if participants tried to join the meeting and the host had not started it yet, they would just have a pop-up box that says, the host will let you into the meeting soon. We are just waiting for them to start the meeting. And that's not typically a problem for users. Another meeting option you have that you can set in advance is pre-assigning breakout rooms. This can be a useful tool if you know who's going to be participating in your meeting and what groups you might want to have them working within. And we'll talk a little bit more about breakout rooms further along in the tutorial. You also have the option to record your meeting automatically. We typically do not check this box just because we think it's good practice to ask participants if they would like the meeting to be recorded, but you can certainly set up this option if you've had that discussion in advance. At the bottom, you have an opportunity to assign an alternative host to the meeting if more than one of you will be sharing the host duties. If you do this, you just have to make sure that the email that you're putting in is associated with another Zoom account. Once you've input all of this information, you're going to click Save. And that will bring you to a meeting information page, which basically consolidates all of the information you just input on the last screen. Now, this is where you would gather your information to share with participants. So to do that, you're going to click Copy Invitation on the right-hand side of your page. For me, it's about halfway down my screen. When I click Copy Invitation, you'll have this pop-up box appear, which provides all the details for your Zoom meeting, as well as the reoccurring dates for those upcoming meetings. So what you would do is just simply click Copy Meeting Invitation at the bottom of the pop-up box. And this will copy all the information to your clipboard. You then take that clipboard information and put it in an email or meeting invite and share that with your participants. And that's how you set and schedule a Zoom meeting in the web page app. So now I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint again, and we'll talk a bit about how to set a meeting in the Windows application. So with Zoom, you can download a Windows app right to your desktop. And this will allow you to avoid signing in through an internet browser. It doesn't give you any additional functions, but it's just a different way of using the conference call system. So if you were to do that, when you open Zoom, you'd be greeted with this Zoom sign-in screen. And similar to the website, this is just asking you to input your email address and the corresponding password. Once you've done that, you'll be brought to this main Zoom screen. And on the left-hand side, you can see a list of your upcoming Zoom meetings. And along the top, you have some functions to go to the home page, chat, or again, review your additional meetings. To schedule a meeting, you want to start by clicking the home button. And this will bring you to the Zoom desktop app home screen. Once you're here, you want to click Schedule in the bottom left-hand corner. And that will bring you to a schedule meeting information box, very similar to the web page we just reviewed on the Zoom website. This is where you'd identify your meeting time, duration, as well as setting up the advanced options, such as join before host or muting participants before entering the call. Next, we're going to talk about some additional features that the host or participant might use while they're in the Zoom app. So to start us off, we're going to talk about how to turn your sound on and off. The black bar you see at the top of the slide here is your meeting control bar, and I'm going to be referring to that a few times throughout the rest of the tutorial. On my screen, my meeting control bar pops up at the bottom of the screen, and that's quite typical for most Zoom participants. Alternatively, it may appear at the top of your screen, but those are the two spaces to look for the bar. So when you first sign into Zoom, whether you're the host or participant, you want to start by identifying if your sound has been turned on or off. And there are two ways you can do that. First, you can identify it using the mute button in the bottom left-hand corner, or by clicking on the Participants tab in the center. So if you click on the participants icon, that will bring you up the list of everyone who's participating, and you can see beside their name if their microphone icon is turned on or if it has a cross through it and showing that they're muted. If you want to turn your microphone on or off, you can simply press the mute button in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and that will show if you're unmuted or if you're muted. Next, you want to assess if you've turned on the video. So similarly to mute, you can check that seeing your video icon in the bottom left-hand corner of your control bar, or you can click the Participants tab, which will pull up a list of participants and show if their camera icon is turned on or if it has a red line through it and is turned off. To turn on your video, you simply want to press the video icon on your meeting control bar at the bottom of your screen. Once you have everyone signed in with their video turned on as well as the sound, you can start to think about changing your display name. So again, when clicking on the Participants tab, you can hover over your name and you'll see a More button appear. This More button would allow you to rename your profile or to add a profile picture, which can be a helpful way to just personalize the Zoom call. You also have an option within Zoom to change to a virtual background, which will give you some additional privacy. We find this helpful if people are meeting in a space that's not typically their office, such as their living room or outdoors, and they want to ensure that people aren't seeing inside their home while on the Zoom meeting or call. One caveat to using this is you do have to make sure that you have a clear wall behind you when doing a virtual background, as well as good lighting. You want to ensure that you have lighting directly on your face so that the computer is able to distinguish who is the person and where the background is that they're trying to fill in. So I'll walk you through the steps to setting up this virtual background. To start us off, you're going to click the Start Video button, and there's a small arrow in the top of that button you want to select. That brings you to this screen where you have three options, and you want to select the Choose Virtual Background option. That will bring up this pop-up box, which has a lot of different Zoom settings that you can play around with. You'll see on the screen, I didn't have a Zoom background set up, but once I selected the picture beside it, you'll see that my Zoom background has now shifted and is showing the San Francisco Bridge in the background. So it's pretty simple. It doesn't always turn out perfectly. In fact, you'll see now I'm just changing my Zoom background and my face has been covered. If this is happening to you, it probably means that you have to play around with the lighting a little bit more and just make sure that your face area is well lit. While you're in the Zoom conversation, you might also want to have participants have the opportunity to write questions in the chat box or engage through this nonverbal format. To do that, you'd simply click the chat icon in the middle of your meeting control bar, and that will bring up this Zoom group chat box. Here, participants have the option to send a message to everyone or just to send a message to a few participants on the call. You also have a nonverbal option to react to what the host or other participants are saying. You can do this through the reactions button on the right-hand side of your meeting control bar. When you click on the reactions button, you'll have two options to react, a hand clap and a thumbs up. This can be a great way to encourage additional participation and nonverbal feedback throughout a session. If you're in a meeting and you feel like you need to better manage the meeting participants, and by that I mean mute participants or ask certain individuals to leave the meeting, as a host, you can do that by clicking on the Participant tab in your meeting control bar. This will bring up a list of all your meeting participants, and by hovering over their name, you'll be given the option to mute, turn their video on and off, or ask them to be removed. Other meeting participants do not have this function, and it's something that just hosts or co-hosts have the ability to do. You may also want to share your screen at some point throughout your call. If you're looking to do that, all you need to do is press the share your screen icon in the middle of your control bar. I've highlighted it here with the yellow circle. And then click, you'll see this window below pop up on your screen. Here, you just want to click on the screen that you would like to share with others. You can see I had a PowerPoint pulled up and some Word documents, and you'd be able to select any of those and they would share on screen the same way you're seeing my PowerPoint today. If you're working with a group of individuals and you'd like to break them up into different teams or smaller groups to have a discussion or work on a particular task, you can do that by assigning participants to breakout rooms. So the host would click the breakout rooms function in the middle of their meeting control bar, and this would create the Create Breakout Rooms pop-up window. Here you have the option to create breakout rooms automatically or manually. If you choose the automatic option, it will just split participants into the number of rooms you've selected. So if you have 10 participants and you would like 2 different rooms, it will automatically split those 5 participants into 2 spaces. If you select the manual option, you will then have the ability to put particular participants in each room and better construct what the teams might look like and who will be where. Depending on your group and the needs of the session, you can choose to do that. Final function that you might be helpful for hosts is the security function. If you click on the security tab in your meeting controls bar, that pulls up a screen that allows you to lock the meeting or enable a waiting room. If you lock the meeting, that prevents any participants from joining the meeting after you've hit that button. Alternatively, you can enable a waiting room, which requires participants to sit in the waiting room and be invited in by the host before joining the meeting. If you're concerned about people accessing your Zoom call who may not have been formally invited, this can be a helpful function to provide an additional layer of security. You'll know that you've successfully locked the meeting when you see this pop-up come up that says, "You've locked the meeting, no one else can join." And that's how you'll know that it has worked properly. Finally, if you'd like to record your meeting, you do have the option to do that as well. On your meeting control bar, you would simply click the record icon, and in the top left-hand side of your screen, you'd see this Zoom meeting pop up that shows that you're currently recording with an option to pause or stop the recording at any time. Once you pause the recording or stop the recording, it won't generate a file until you leave the Zoom meeting itself, and that's just something to be aware of. You'll know that your Zoom file has been successfully saved and is being prepared to be converted at the end of your call when you see this pop up at the bottom of the screen, where it says the recorded file will be converted to an MP4 when the meeting ends, and that's just letting you know that Zoom has registered your recording and will bring you to a file pop-up at the end of your session. So that ends our discussion on some tips and tricks for running and hosting a Zoom meeting. We hope that this has been helpful. If you have any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them, or you can review some of the helpful videos at support.zoom.us. Thank you and have a great day.